Hello out there. My name is Lalu Akode and you are on to Inside Sources. And here is my take for the week entitled, Leave EFCC Alone. At a time when corrosive corruption is tearing away the fabric of our society, we can see how 16 state governments and some lawyers are mounting an assault on the existence of the EFCC. Now, thankfully, there are 20 more states and the FCT who have stayed out of this needless legal drama. By not joining, those 20 states and FCT have acted in the best interest of the Nigerian people, and we thank them for that. But there is also a former NBA president who has written to the National Assembly expressing the view that the EFCC is an unlawful organization. Is that so? This is a matter that the highest court in the land have already expressed a firm opinion at least twice. One, in the case of the Attorney General of Ondo State versus the Attorney General of the Federation, 2002, the Supreme Court affirmed that the National Assembly has the powers to legislate on matters relating to corruption under the exclusive legislative list, according to the Constitution. Two, again, 2 years later, in Olafisoye versus the Federal Republic of Nigeria in 2004, the powers of the National Assembly to set up EFCC and the ICPC was affirmed by the highest court in the land. Very rightly so. The Supreme Court said corruption is a matter of national concern. God bless them. So it is quite disturbing that we have 16 state governments who can't seem to figure out a more beneficial matter to take to the Supreme Court to help their people. They did not go to the apex court over a directly beneficial matter to their people, such as how states can receive UBEC resources freely so that they can improve the quality of education of the people. They didn't do that. Now, we know that UBEC is the Universal Basic Education Commission, a federal agency that gets 2% of the Consolidated Revenue Fund to help improve education in Nigeria. Many states there are who can't access the UBEC funds because they refuse or they say they can't mobilize the counterpart funding which is required of them to access the money. And that's about 3.5 billion naira average per state statistically. For example, over 45 billion matching grant to state governments for the implementation of UBEC, that is Universal Basic Education, between 2020 and 2023 has not been assessed as I speak by many state governments, including 8 of those who are now trying to kill EFCC in the Supreme Court. Only 16 states are assessing the UBEC fund as at June this year. Now, as any one of those governors in those states who are now trying to kill EFCC, did they go to court to mount some kind of national or serious advocacy on how they might be able to access those funds if they don't have counterpart funding? Shouldn't that be what they are trying to do? Have they been making any noise about such an important issue? But those 16 state governments seem to be more concerned about how their governors will possibly be free of EFCC once they lose their immunity status. Is that the compelling reason for the 15 other governors to join Kogi in this truly anti-people case? In many of the states across the country, students lie on their bellies to study. Some lie on their backs in classrooms. No good buildings. Where you have buildings, they are old, they are dilapidated structures all over this country. Public education is essentially destroyed in many states. And we know that primary and secondary education are on the concurrent list, therefore, responsibilities of state governments. The same is true of health, where you have clinics in the states without drugs and equipment, hospital buildings without doctors. People in the state can't afford a decent health care, but the states are more concerned with killing the EFCC. EFCC is the agency, one of them, at least in this country, that promotes transparency and accountability because they put the fear of God in the hearts of many elected and appointed government officials. And that's a good thing. We have all seen the drama of the absurd that the immediate past governor of Kogi is directing in this country, all because he doesn't want to account for his 8-year stewardship. So, what about the other governors of the other states? Are they also afraid? James Adley Chase said the guilty are afraid. In a swift response to the former NBA governor, a notable lawyer and former chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Anti-Corruption Agencies, Mr. Kayode Oladele, said, with due respect, Mr. Agbakoba's position is more of legal sophistry than legal substance. And we must thank God for such a clear-headed response from another lawyer. If we need to do anything to EFCC, we must strengthen its professional capacity to be free of inducement, to be free of corruption, to respect people's fundamental rights, especially the suspects, and to avoid using Gestapo tactics in their operations. This attempt to kill EFCC with this legal case must fail. We should not allow it. Leave EFCC alone. The fight against corruption in Nigeria is an existential war. And there you have it. Inside Sources will be right back. Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today we'll be having 2 segments, and the first segment is a discussion on the state of the nation. I have with me 2 eminent and leading Nigerian newspaper columnists. On my far right, we have Mr. Martin Oloja, former managing director and editor-in-chief of The Guardian, who is currently a columnist. Martin, you're welcome back to Inside Sources.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. And with him is Mr. Mojeed Dahiru, a leading newspaper columnist and TV analyst, who I'm welcoming for the first time to Inside Sources.
Thank you very much.
Mojeed, it's good to have you.
Thank you, it's an honor.
All right. So let's talk about 2 things. Hopefully you get the time, but let's start with the absence of the president and the vice president. Now, it's not the first time that this will happen, as Mr. Ononuga, the presidential spokesperson, said. It had happened. This is the second time that it's happening under the Tinubu presidency, and I guess it happened once under the Buhari or Shibajo presidency. So let's start with Mojeed. What is now I think that it's not ideal to have this kind of a situation, but what's your initial take about this?
No, it is not ideal at all. And there is no such thing as a working vacation. It's whether you are working or you're on vacation. And so when the president deems it fit and proper to take a week or 2 for vacation, which is allowed, I mean, you cannot all work and not play. The constitutional thing to have been done, the ideal thing to have been done was to hand over to the vice president, in line with the spirit of the Constitution. And it's also not appropriate for the vice president and the president to be out of the country at the same time. It gives a semblance of a government that is not very serious or coordinated, or that the president himself does not even trust his vice president enough to allow him the reins of power for just 2 weeks. So it's not very tidy, it's not ideal, and I think ordinarily should have outgrown, sort of thing. Whatever happened in the past should be in the past. We should have outgrown this by now. This is 2024, 25 years after democratic rule.
Martin, what's your own initial take before we actually
as my brother has said, the fact that it happened before doesn't make it right. I think that Nigeria is not just any country, it's an important country. And you know that getting the people to trust what is going on is very important in a democracy. And the way we are, it's a very small world. And the way you see the complexity of our diversity. People need to be briefed about what is going on. Just saying casually that the president is going on a working vacation. One can't understand that qualifier, working vacation. And you see how people have been discussing that so you have nowhere to relax or to do your holiday. And you see the people in the United States, they are proud of the Camp David and so many other places where their presidents relax. And at a time, a lot of things are deemed to be wrong. Even with the economy, people are talking about inflation. People are talking of insecurity in so many parts of the country. And the president is on a walking visit. And then before his arrival, the vice president jetted out to Sweden. And, you know, people are very concerned, and people should be told what is really going on. So it's actually not proper. It's not about even the Constitution. The Constitution is there. The letter and spirit of the Constitution can be explained, but perception of the people in this connection matters. Perception that what is going on. A lot of things around, people are expecting this. Look at even the National Assembly, where if this kind of thing happens elsewhere, the National Assembly, which encompasses what we expect in a democracy.
Right.
That's where
you express
the representatives of the people from different senatorial districts, from different constituencies. They are quiet. We can't hear anything from them. They are not assuring people. They are supposed to have asked questions about what is happening, and that is the reason for separation of power. And then if something is wrong with the executive, somebody somewhere should raise a motion of urgent national importance about all these things that people are talking about. Some committee, even some committee chairmen are supposed to raise questions, not to talk of the presiding officers and the National Assembly. So I think what is happening is curious, and we should discuss it and also advise them that they shouldn't be saying that it happened before and so it should happen.
Mr. Ononuga says the president is making phone calls, and in his last statement where he said there's no vacuum, he said he's making phone calls and stuff. Do you consider that, as a cure to what you just said?
No, definitely no. I don't consider it a cure. It's making phone calls, things are going on, but perception of the people that things are not well at this time, and things that we are supposed to see about. Look at what people are talking about. This PMA's price, that this is surprising that it's getting beyond 1,000. And many people are crying, even some highly placed people, even some insiders within the party are saying that things are not right. If he's making phone calls, assuring the people, we should be seeing some of those things like that to say, whatever is wrong, we are with God. We are supposed to know some of those things like that. It is not about, Bayo is doing his job. He's a professional. We know him. He's a very senior professional. We know him. We respect what he's saying. But that does not mean that we should not also deconstruct our perception of what should go on.
Important point. I don't think they've managed this particular episode well, and I hope that they will use this as some positive feedback mechanism from the media and from their friends in the media, to know that it is just right for the presidency to be part of honor at all times, so that trust can be restored between citizens and their leadership.
We, the people, deserve to know, because not necessarily because of the size we are talking about, to lead the most populous black nation on earth is not a joke. And to see the size, the influence of Nigeria in Africa. There are even foreign direct investors. There are people. Look at the diversity we are talking about. We deserve to know what the president is doing, where he is. And the concern that you find here, that you perceive, is also to deconstruct the fact that, the system is not strong enough. If we have a very strong system, you see the president of even the most powerful nation on earth, you can see what is happening. But because the system is running, you have a very strong system. We do not have, our institutions are not strong enough to support certain things. So that is why when the president is absent, people are concerned. When the governor is absent in a state, you see people are concerned. Because people have been talking about our institutions that are not strong enough to withstand certain things, enforcement, you see policy thrust and what have you. Cabinet cannot just meet in the absence of these leaders. Elsewhere, you find things going on with, even we won't even know when the president is abroad. However, elsewhere too, when there is a crisis, even the president is attending an international, even United Nations meeting. You have covered some of those things in New York before. They quickly leave when there is a crisis. So we, the people, have the right. We employed him. As he said, we employed him. We have the right to know what is going on, where he is. And we need to look up to him. This is a time, communication is very, very important. Even the leader needs to be assuring us to say, as he has been doing, we need to hear that, look, things are difficult now. It is for a better tomorrow. We need this we need this operation, we need this surgery for a better tomorrow. We need to be hearing that from time to time, but not, as he said, just phone calls to a few people. Directing those people cannot just replace
his actual presence.
His actual presence is our president in action, using his word.
Exactly. Okay, Joseph, so a last question and then we move on now to Mr. Dairu. So this issue of the 21 days, in the Constitution, which was inserted after the Yar'Adua situation, where it says that, okay, the president is supposed to, if the president is going on vacation, he's supposed to transmit the letter out of that. And then now inserted somewhere and said that, look, he has, if he leaves the country and is not back in 21 days, then the National Assembly will have to declare. Now, do you think that we need to now even further clarify that to take care of the issue of working vacation, so that we can at least say in our constitution that this is exactly how we want it done? Do you think there's a need for that?
Ordinarily, even the provision of 21 days after the Yar'Adua saga should not have happened in the first place, even Yar'Adua had to depart of honor at that time. You see, that's what is called the spirit behind every law. It's simple. As the president of a country, an executive president, if for 1 hour in a day, you are not conscious enough, you're not in the right frame of mind to deliver, to work for the Nigerian people, in line with the oath of office you took upon assumption of office, you're supposed to step down for the next person that can deliver, even for 1 hour. Nobody needs to compel you. We've also seen that, despite inserting the 21 days clause in the Constitution, the former president, at a time, after, complying with this portion of the Constitution, at the time we saw a tendency where the president would travel out of the country. When it's about to be 21 days, he will come in, spend a few days, and go back, just to beat that 21 days clause. Now, they have already put a landmine that will actually explode this clause because it says that he was going on a vacation where he'll be working vacation. So I don't need to tell you that a lot of staff will be lined up to defend the president, even if he stays beyond 21 days, saying that he's working from there. He's working. And so that amount of constitutional amendment can cure this mischief. What we need is an integrity-based leadership that can pay absolute fidelity to the letters, the intendment, and the spirit of the Constitution. Our Constitution is too bulky already. Further amendments in this regard will make it even bulkier and more complicated.
Mr. Dairu, I like what you said, absolute fidelity. I will be satisfied with 70% fidelity, by the way. But let's move along to another issue, and we take it to Mr. Lodja. So the president has given us indication now, certainly maybe like 3 weeks, that there will be a cabinet reshuffle. Now, that itself has led to a lot of activities, people jumping up and down, especially the ministers who think that maybe they are on the line. We have all kinds of things going on. So those who don't normally go to the media, they're now showing up. In one particular instance, and I'm going to say this, a minister actually goes on TV to read a poem, as if that is a proof of what the duty is. My question, Mr. Lodja, is that if you were the president, which ministries would you rank as critical to the delivery of the intended service or services for the Nigerian people? And, how do you assess those ministries currently?
Well, definitely.
Then, of course, come to the same question we go to.
You will. I would like to say that even it's strange for this notification to announce that we intend to tinker with the cabinet. That's the presidential function. Has the responsibility. That is what we employed him to do. That is a responsibility. And saying that they will do, I feel it's not necessary to just even...
To give that information.
To give that information. I want to do it because that's the reason you see some ministers going up and down, and even some granting interviews here and there to newspapers, to radio, and all those things like that, because they panic. And even 1 year and almost 5 months, we have seen that the economy is not doing well. And a lot of people are disturbed about the performance of the economy. We've seen data. We have seen, and then we'll see energy crisis in the mix. You see, people are talking about Band A. You say, why Band A? Why this one? Electricity issue. Businesses are crashing because of inability to just make ends meet, to just put the figures together. People in the tourism industry are crying. They are saying, look, how do we do this? You look at the Ministry of Finance. Is very, very important. Yeah. Economic development. And there is a minister, there is a coordinating minister
for the economy.
Of the economy. And you look at the energy sector comprising this power, petroleum resources, you see that something is wrong there. You see a lot of, every day you talk about Dangote, NNPC, retail, this complexity. The president, if I were the president, right, I would even indicate intention to relinquish that ministry. I won't add that one to my own responsibility. There should be a clear and definite petroleum resources minister and a power minister who has been asking people to say, look, switch off this, switch off that, or a solution. I think that doesn't show something that people can take like that. Okay. You have a responsibility. This energy mix, these petroleum resources that we should get, for instance now, if anybody asks me, if a foreign journalist just gets in here and asks me, what is the state of the Port Harcourt refinery after 6 promises? 6 promises. Now we are beginning to see something in the media that, it is the AGO section that is supposed to come on, there is sabotage. I have seen some...
Yeah, I've heard that.
I've read some things that they are beginning to do something. We don't have information about what is going on after even a lawyer, Femi Falana, SAN, has written using the Freedom of Information Act to ask for information about what the previous former President Buhari approved for Port Harcourt refinery. He also approved for the other refineries. Right. What is going on? So we need to be able to hold a minister responsible. There's a minister of state. Yeah. But Minister of State, you know what it is. Minister of State is Minister of State. It's not more than that. So I believe that people are concerned about the economy and the energy sector. Those 2 portfolios, those 2 ministries are critical. If you can find somebody to handle the economy in a way that people will, it's not that people cannot understand what is going on or people cannot endure or people were complaining too much, but there must be hope of a better tomorrow that Ngugi wa Thiong'o says is the only comfort you can give to a weeping child.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that literary tip at the end, Mr. Majid.
You know, in the presidential system, it is very difficult to assess ministers in their individual capacities because the president essentially delegates duties and functions in line with the Constitution to his appointed ministers. And so it is important to judge these ministers according to the vision of the president. What is the president's vision for energy, for instance? What is the president's vision for economy and finance, for instance? And if there is any aspect of his manifesto that is so clear about, it is in the finance and economic sector as well as the energy sector. For instance, the president has made it known to everybody that he wants to run a deregulated economy. And so, for instance, on the economic side, he has floated the national currency, among many other neoliberal measures.
Right.
So we have to now judge the finance minister, Mr. Wale Edun, on how far and how much he's actually implementing the president's vision, not minding the outcome. For example, in principle, I disagree with whatever it is that they're trying to do by way of flotation of the naira and all other policies they've introduced. But like you rightly asked, who should the president be pleased with? I think the president can be very pleased with Cardoso and his minister for finance, because they floated the naira and they are still going along the line of his vision. The president keeps doubling down on why his reforms, even though it is deforming our economy, he keeps doubling down on the fact that it is the best thing for us. So we are going to judge his minister based on how much and how far he's gone in implementing the president's vision, no matter how unpalatable the outcomes have been so far. It's up to the petroleum ministry, deregulation, reward of subsidy, and the regulation of downstream sector particularly. We're going to judge Minister Heineken Lekobiri, who is in charge of oil in the Ministry of Petroleum, and his counterpart in gas, Ekwerikwe. We have to judge them on how far, how well are they implementing the president's vision. Again, I do not necessarily agree with some of the reforms being introduced, especially the reward of subsidy. But the two ministers are actually committed to the president's vision of reward of subsidy. And that is why if you look at the minister, particularly the Minister of Oil, his position has been consistent on why subsidy should go, why the government cannot sustain subsidies, and why the regulation in the long run will be better for the economy. It is arguable these are economic and ideological issues. So the president is determined to see the regulation to the end. We have seen the adverse effect. We've seen the negative fallout of this policy by way of high energy prices that has actually got into a crisis level. But the minister can only be commended for implementing the president's vision by the president. So if you want us to now assess the minister on what we think should be doing differently, it will be to assess the president on his vision and attempt to say, look, Mr. President, can I have a rethink of some of these policies? So it will have to direct it to the president himself to say, can you rethink some of these things? They will now see that these same ministers are not able to so drive, the alternative to what is provided now. But he stands. I think he should be very pleased with his finance minister, his CBN governor, and his petroleum ministers.
Because they're doing what he wants.
Exactly what he said. Subsidy is gone. And
subsidy is gone.
And today subsidy is gone. Truly.
All right. Thank you so much. Our time is already spent. You know, this conversation will continue on the state of the nation. I want to thank both of you, Mr. Martin Soloja, former MD and editor-in-chief of The Guardian. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mojeed Dairu, newspaper columnist and TV analyst. Thank you so much for coming to Inside Sources.
Thank you. No.
We will be right back to continue the conversation on the future of Nigeria. Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today, we continue our discussion on the future of Nigeria, and I have a distinguished senator of the Federal Republic who will be discussing with us on the future of Nigeria and other relevant discussions. He's also the chairman of the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions. He's a senator that represents the Labour Party from Edo State. I'd like to welcome Senator Neda Imasuen.
Thank you.
You're welcome
Thank
to
you
Inside Sources.
Thank you so very much.
Excellent. Well, let's take it from how we normally start, and then we get to other issues. Now, if you look at where Nigeria is today, I mean, you are a senator and you came out of Labour Party. You know, Labour Party had a lot of excitement, in our last general elections. Are you convinced that where the country is today, we are on course to that great Nigeria that all of us believe is the destiny of this nation?
Well, thank you for that question. To answer you directly, I don't have that conviction at all. But again, because we believe in this country, and because we don't have any other country that we call a home, and because our future and the future of our children lie in this country, And so we are trying to keep hope alive. But directly, no. I don't see how this is going to lead us to a situation that every Nigerian will be comfortable with. Because today, the basic things of life, the basic necessities, we can't afford it. Talk about food. Nigerians can afford to have 3 square meals today. As a matter of fact, they struggle to have 1 square meal. And even when they struggle to have that, it is not a quality meal. I honestly don't know how far or how quick or what led us to this spiral decline in everything that we have. Insecurity is still with us. With all the money that we have appropriated to the military, to all the security agencies, is still with us. Unemployment. Now today they tell you that the interest rate is skyrocketing. Inflation is in double digits, and there are no signs that they are coming down. And so it's frustration all around. But in spite of that, we are trying to keep hope alive. But that's the only thing I think we have. As senators or as parliament, we do everything that we can through legislation to see how we can ameliorate the sufferings of Nigerians. And we are hoping that it will work and pan out well for us.
Yeah, I mean, Senator, thank you for the opening comments. And, you are a senator, of the Federal Republic, and the Senate, alongside the Federal House of Representatives, have quite a lot of responsibilities and powers. So I'd like to know that what is the National Assembly's own responsibility in trying to address some of the issues that you have raised? Because you can take the view like somebody like us who is outside. We all know that it's bad. So we know that, we got to this particular depth of the crisis because of the subsidy removal, and then, of course, experts also say that the fact that Naira was devalued, those are the twin things happening at the same time. So how do we get out of it? What would be the role of the National Assembly in trying to work our way back to normalcy?
Well, our role as legislators is basically through legislation. We will appropriate at the appropriate time or to the appropriate agencies. We try to cooperate with the agencies that, for instance, Central Bank.
Right.
Central Bank comes to the Senate almost every now and then to brief us on what is going on. And they are the one that executes whatever it is that the ruling party has.
And it's for the monetary policy.
Yes, monetary policy. It is within the presidency, within the executive to do that. The only thing we can do is to offer our own advice where necessary. And when they come to us for appropriation, for instance, the insecurity we're talking about, they need money, they need that, they need this. And then we sit down and appropriate the money that they need so that they can do what they say they are doing. Now, their monetary policies, whether fiscal policy or any way you look at it, is within them. The National Assembly, we can debate all we want, but they are the one who executes, they are the one that has the plan, they are the one that like I said, has the plan and has the direction and has the destination they want to go with the plan. And so we can only support them and hoping that the plan that they have will actually take us to this destination. There's a lot of interface and talking back and forth and trying to understand one another that between the executives and the legislature to see how we can together move this country forward. Because it is not a matter, we cannot trade blame. This is not the time to throw blame. It's the time to sit down and say, look, our people are suffering. How do we sort out the barcode that we seem to have found ourselves? It's something that that hopefully, if what they plan to do, and what they say is going to come out of it comes out of it, then everybody will be happy. But the steps that is being taken,
Right.
I am afraid that the suffering that Nigerians are going through right now is too much a price to pay for it. Now, this is a country we don't produce, we import, and we are devaluing our naira. I don't see how that is going to help us. Everything is tied to dollar, and dollar keeps going up. And we only import almost everything that we use, we import. And so we are trying to see, how do we develop our own our own national industries, these SMEs, it works a lot. If we can strengthen the small, medium enterprises and let the middleman, give the middleman breathing space to do what he has to do. This question of subsidy there's no country that doesn't subsidize, especially in agriculture. Our farmers need they need access to funding, and they need government intervention by providing the necessary farm implements,
Right.
be it tractors and the rest, so that they can actually produce the food that we need to eat. You can't buy a bag of rice today. Today, you cannot buy a bag of rice. It's over 130. I think it's like 130,000 for what I hear.
That's
for
incredible.
a bag. Something that came from 7,000 or 15,000.
Yeah.
Come on.
Incredible.
How do we spiral to that level? And so we need our farmers. And we also need to have security so that our farmers can go to farm secured. If they don't, then they won't go. If there's no security for them, they're not going to go. And I think that is part of the problems that we're having too. So the bucket of problem is really heavy. And so we need to lighten it.
Yeah. So I think that, yes, of course, we should help the farmers. But I think a very significant portion of why we have rising food prices is what happens between where the produce is available and the market, which is transportation. So I think, and I'll let you comment after I make this point, I think that, not just the federal government, the state government both have to come together to sort out the problem of transportation of the produce from the farm to the market. What do you say?
I agree with you. Before I speak about the role of the state governors, let's also look at the price of fuel, of petroleum, gasoline today.
That's the issue.
That is the main issue.
We need government to...
So that's what we talk about subsidy. So I don't know which you're going to subsidize. Are you going to encourage the farmers to farm and give us enough food, and then you buy it from them at the rate that they're supposed to sell it and make profit?
Like an offtake there,
and then you
be
now
responsible.
Exactly.
It's an idea.
And then you come back now and sell it to the populace at a reasonable price. America do that. Most countries, they do it.
Yeah. I mean, so we talk about state governments a lot, but there's one, at least in this example, I think Lagos. I was reading that they did have this produce markets where they bring out the stuff. So that seems to me, one way, and there must be several ideas of how we can cut that expense from the farm to because the food prices are the most critical. It is said in my language that if you remove hunger from poverty, you're
not poor.
Exactly.
You're not poor.
So, and that's why I think that issue of the transportation of the produce, because what does it cost to produce stuff? Hey, I mean, we are blessed with the farm,
and the land.
Exactly, and the land.
Yes.
But it is that transportation that has to be paid. That we have to be creative about.
Yes, I agree with you. If that's why I said we have removed subsidy from petroleum now, and so price of petroleum has gone up. And so it's going to be translated to these products that they bring from the farms, because they don't put it on their heads. You bring yams from Benue to Edo states to most of the southern states up to Lagos. Is transportation that is going to be responsible in transporting them. Rice from everywhere, tomatoes, onions from the north, and you are bringing gari, plantain, and all those things from the south to the north as well. Transportation is involved. Now, the role of the state governors, like I always say, we all tend to also blame federal. Everything's not federal. As a matter of fact, it is the states together that forms a nation.
Right.
It is not the federal government that forms a nation by itself.
True.
And so I ask myself, every month they come to Abuja, they collect their money, they have their own internal generated revenues, IGR, they have other sources of revenue. And you ask, with this money, what are you doing for your people? Transportation that we're talking about, I don't see why some states cannot provide buses.
Absolutely, that's my
Why
point.
are you waiting for the federal government to?
That's my point.
On the federal government does that, you're not going to do it. So what are you doing?
They know where the farms are.
Yes.
We know where these produce are coming from.
They can't even construct roads to the farms.
I mean,
So it's a myriad of problems that I think it's not just the federal government. I'm not absolving them, but I'm also saying that the state government, they have a role to play, and they're not playing that role.
Very important point. Let's move on to other issues. I wanted to bring up the issue of the Labour Party. You know, I'm sure you know that in the 2023 elections, you know, Labour Party was basically the beautiful bride.
It still is.
You know, without a doubt at that time. Now, not that many people thought that, you know, and this is my view, that Labour Party will win the presidential election, but Labour Party and its candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, really shook things, you know, like they would say, you know, they really almost scattered the table, as it were. But the same Labour Party that gave Nigeria so much hope won Lagos State in the presidential election, by the way. It was quite very significant, unprecedented. APC was defeated in Lagos for the presidential election. But the same Labour Party that gave people so much hope now. So we have Jama Abure, you know, doing his stuff. We've seen a lot of very compromising videos. We have Governor, the governor of Abia State, Governor Oti, you know, and Peter Obi trying to see, look, let's sort out things. You know, and then they appointed Nenadi, former minister, and now Abure said, no, that's not true. And then the courts has now said, okay, it's Abure. And then look at what is even happening, you know, with Mr. Peter Obi. Mr. Okonkwo came out and said, well, look, this guy is not, you know, look at what is going on. I mean, all kinds of, I don't want to use the word shenanigans, but my point is that Nigerians have been disappointed by what has happened in Labour Party. You are a senator of Labour Party. What do you say to these things?
Well, what is happening to Labour Party is unfortunate, but it's not a situation that we cannot climb out of. In my opinion, we've climbed out of that. What Abure is doing is Abure's affair. It's not going to hold water. Like you said, Governor Oti, His Excellency Peter Obi, and other leaders of the party sat and said, we cannot just sit down and watch the party go into extinction. And so they came up to say, let's settle this matter, and invited everybody, including Abure himself.
Abure did not attend.
Abure chose not to attend. You see, a man of peace. Is it peace that he wants? If he wanted peace, he would have attended. So that everything can be settled, so that every interest can be taken care of. You see, I don't want to say what I don't really have the facts about. For instance, before Labour Party, when we were coming up as a party, people didn't give us a chance. And so they didn't pay any attention to us. And so why they undermined us, we just came up. Now they are paying
5 senators in the
Yes.
National Assembly, in the
No,
Senate.
we are 7.
Okay, 7, yeah.
We are 6 now.
Okay.
No, well, one defected.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, they are not paying us attention. You know why? Oh, we can't but pay them attention. What attention are they paying us? It's just to make sure that we don't have the cohesion that we had before.
When you say they, who are you trying to?
Oh, our competitors, I would say.
Okay.
Yes. And that's just what it is. And so, and there will always be a willing tool. There will always be a willing tool. Because if you love Labour Party and you're actually seeking for peace in Labour Party, you will, especially as a former chairman of the party, peace should be your watchword. And not this question of running to court every minute. You run to court, you run to court, you run.
Do you think?
And I'm beginning to wonder, how comfortable does he feel in court? Why does he feel so comfortable in court? Does it have anything to do with court that he feels so comfortable running there every time when he can come home and let's have peace?
So that the matter. Do you think that the APC is using Abure against the cohesion of the party?
It's not impossible. I'm not saying it is, but it's not impossible.
Anyway, because of our time, I want us to talk about your role as the chairman of the Public Petitions, Committee. This is a very important committee in the Senate. Now, one of the major indications of democracy is that we have the National Assembly and the state assemblies in the states, where Nigerians can vent, and you are the chairman of the Public Petitions Committee in the Senate. Now, what are the major issues that you are dealing with there? Where do we have instances where Nigerians have expressed, displeasure or complaint and issues that you are dealing with? What is the or are Nigerians not aware of what you are doing in public petition? I just wanted to know.
Well, thank you very much. Nigerians are aware of this committee. First of all, the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges of Public Petition, it's like the court for the ordinary man. It's accessible to any Nigerian anywhere.
That should be.
And what we do is to take in complaints that come to us. These complaints could be against agencies, ministries, or departments. It could be against commissions. It could be against individual ministers or what have you.
Yeah.
It could
virtually anything.
Yes. It could also be against individuals who deals with government.
Okay.
If you take a penny, if you always take a penny from the government purse or largesse or anything, then we can reach you. Because, and again, if it's also against injustice in our society.
So do you have any particular or some major complaints that would be of public interest?
Yes, recently we've gotten some complaints. One in particular, a student from University of Abuja who was in his final year has actually written his exam, was rusticated because of his involvement in student unionism. He cried to the Senate, and we were able to intervene and had the university take him back, and he graduated and he's doing youth service.
Oh, great.
But the major thing, or one of the issues that we have, is that some of these MDAs, when we write them to tell them there's a petition against them that they need to answer, they need to come and answer, some ignore it. They completely ignore the summonses or the request for them to come.
Why do you tolerate that?
Well, I won't say we tolerate it, but we give people the ample time to respond. And when it becomes something that we can no longer tolerate, then we have to hit the gavel or hit the hammer. The Constitution gives us the right to summon anyone to appear before it. It also gives us the power to issue warrants of arrest for erring persons, no matter how highly placed, to come before the Senate. And from here on, we have sounded the warning, and we hope they are all on notice. We will use the power that the Constitution has given to us to compel them to answer, because no one is above the law.
Yeah.
If we are talking about democracy, democracy is by the law. It's nothing less than it.
Yeah. So the case of the University of Abuja, so is that what you consider the most significant?
No, well,
That is before you, the one that you resolved.
Yeah, we are resolved.
What about
that.
the one that you are dealing with currently?
Okay, we have some issues with some corporations like Landmark in Lagos, for instance.
Okay, over the, I think it's in the press, over
Yes.
the
Lagos, Calabar,
Coastal
yes, Coastal Road.
Please, can you tell us about that?
Well, the owners of Landmark had cried to the Senate, and they're saying that that their property was unlawfully destroyed. They did a petition to us, destroyed, and that of course they are seeking for a remedy. And so what do? We write to Minister of Works and say, this is a petition, please, what's your take on this?
So what were they complaining against? The Landmark people?
Landmark, before they even destroyed, before the rule went through it, actually tried to stop them. Yeah. They didn't succeed, and so part of their property has been destroyed. And so they are saying that was unlawful, and that their property, they have been disenfranchised from their property, and Minister of Works have not come to tell us, but what they are saying, for what we hear, is that they have the right of way and that proper compensation or whatever it is have been taken. We don't know. That is the reason why they must come and tell us.
But have you
so we don't want to second guess. Yeah, well,
the public hearing on this?
Yes, we have, and send out letters for them to appear. They have not appeared. And so I hope this time around they will appear. You know, we have Sunday morning, and we don't really want to push it that far, but if they push us to push it, we'll push it. So in the petition, you know, did they name? Oh, well, it has to be the minister. Yes. Yes.
So you've invited the minister.
Yeah, he's been invited.
Did you get any kind of response from the minister to your summons, or is that what you call it?
Well, not until the issue came to the public space before we began to see responses from them. I'm hoping that. Have you summoned the minister? Oh, he's here. We're talking about the minister for Works. Yes, summoned. He's with
former governor of Mike.
Summoned. Yes.
Okay, has he responded?
He has not fully responded, but we are waiting. But he has spoken to me on the phone and given excuses why he has not responded. So he has another opportunity.
So you haven't gotten to the point that you can say that he has ignored your the stuff.
Well, because of his phone call, so I wouldn't say he ignored.
So have you scheduled a time for the public hearing, where the minister will have to
Yes, their letters would have gone out by now.
Okay. Yeah. It's a very important issue, that Nigerians will be interested in following up, why government do have a right, domain rules and all of that. I think, people also have a right to some kind of compensation, and the National Assembly is the venue, in my view, where some of these issues should be heard.
Resolved, yes.
So it's important for your committee to also insist that there should be a public hearing. See, and that's the thing. It's said that sunlight is the best disinfectant. If everybody is doing it openly, I assure you, Senator, that it's very difficult. It's very difficult to
agree with you.
From our sense.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So it will be good to keep us updated on the progress of.
It's not only Minister of Works. We have the Enugu Distribution Company also involved, and we have these contractor or land developer in Abuja here. I'm trying to remember his name now, who we have also summoned and has not showed up. So we are hoping that he shows up because we are talking about Nigerians who feel that they have been swindled one way or another, or what they bargained for. It's called Salibest land developer.
Okay.
He's also on notice. And we hope that he will answer our summons. Otherwise, we may have to use the power that the Constitution has given us to issue a warrant of arrest.
As the chairman of the Public Petitions Committee, Ethics Privileges, it's a very important responsibility. And like I said, it's my view, my personal view, that, that kind of a committee has to be very responsible to the people and bring out the issues so that they can be sorted out in the best interest of the public. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our time is fast spent. We wish that we can continue. Thank you for coming to Inside Sources.
Thank you
and
so
thank you
very
for the
much.
work that you do. We hope that you guys in the Senate and the House can continue to really insist, on how the executive government will do their job and do it in the best interest of all of us Nigerians.
Thank you.
Thank you so
very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
All right now.
Yeah.
And there you have it, another edition of Inside Sources. Like we always say, Nigeria will prevail. We believe it, and that is why we are here. Thank you for watching. My name is Laolu Akande, and by the grace of God, I'll see you again on Friday.